Welcome everyone to our second GBD Innovation Club webinar. Certainly these webinars for me are probably the most exciting events I attend these days, given the fact that, we're literally meeting with people around the world. And I think if my colleagues were here, I would tell them no offense, but these are good events. So thanks to everyone for joining us this morning. I guess we can go around and do introductions, and I think probably the easiest way, I'll just call out each person's name and they can introduce themselves. So I will begin. My name is Mike Rieger. I am the Deputy Director of the Eastcott Community Benefit District in downtown San Francisco. And I will move to Aude.
Yeah, hello. Is it okay for the, yeah. All right. I'm Aude Laurent from Paris La Défense Business District. I'm Head of International Relations and Corporate Relations as well.
All right. Michael.
Michael Edwards, President and CEO, Chicago Loop Alliance, and member of Global Business District Club.
All right. Kalindi.
Hi, I'm Kalindi Parikh. I'm the Director of Planning of the Chicago Loop Alliance.
Emile.
Yeah, Emile Roux. I am Executive Director at Destination Centre-Ville, downtown Montreal.
Vincent.
And hi, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to participate to this webcast with you. So I'm Vincent Raufast. I'm from EY, and I've been in charge of this. I had the privilege to manage this project for the second time, which is the Global Business District Attractiveness Report. So yes, I hope you'll find it interesting.
All right, thank you. And Maria?
Hi, I'm Maria from Moscow City Business District. I'm doing the whole development program for the district, and so I'm with you here since Chicago, I think.
All right, and I think Josephine is there?
I'm just here. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us to our second webinar. I'm in charge of the GBD Innovation Club and the international communication of Paris La Défense with Aude.
All right. Thank you, everyone. So I think with that, I will hand it over to Vincent for the presentation on the attractiveness of global business districts.
Vincent,
okay, so,
before you get, excuse me, Vincent, before you get started, can you get a little bit closer to your microphone?
Yeah, so let me try to, with the headphones, it's
you're a little quiet.
the earphones.
And I know you're not a soft-spoken man.
Can you hear me better like this? Yes?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good,
Yes.
fine. Okay, so I'm going to take you through a few key highlights from the 2020 report. If you don't know it already, so it's the second time we published this report. The last time was back in 2017. And with Paris La Défense, we decided to go for an update of this study. Maybe can we put all the other participants on mute, because there is a little echo. So I don't know who's okay. Yes, so we decided to have this update of this study to see what were the changes and so on. And so I'm going to take you through these some key highlights from this report, and I hope that answers some of your questions or feed some of the conversations that you have together. And of course, if you have any question after this presentation, I'm happy to answer them, or at least to do my best to answer these questions. So maybe we can move to to the next page. Okay. So the first thing, just a few words about the study, its objective, and the scope of analysis. So again, the objective is to measure the attractiveness of business districts and to see, what are the long-term transformation trends that we're seeing in this business district. For the 2020 edition, what we did is we extended the scope of business district that we are looking at to 21 business districts. And all of them have been, like last time, have been selected based on a number of, let's say, threshold criteria in terms of concentration of business services, in terms of concentration of employees, in terms of, square meters, and so on. And we used, the same, but we extended to 21 business districts. So overall, as you can see here, in total, so these 21 business districts in the scope are gathering 4.5 million employees working there on a daily basis, which is 4.5% on average of their active population in the metro area. And in terms of total square meters, it's about 100 million square meters that these business districts total across these 5 regions. So maybe we can move to the next page, please. Okay. So what we want to do to measure, or the way we have tried to measure the attractiveness of these business districts. Of course, it's not a science; it's an art, and we had many thoughts together with Paris La Défense, with you, to explore what would be the right criteria and way to measure the attractiveness of business district. And at the end of the day, we have three main sources of information, or sets of, or 3 main data sets that we have used to come to these results. The first one is that we wanted to get an objective, comparable, and quantitative assessment of the attractiveness of business district. And so for that, like the last time, we define some criteria that we know are important when it comes to measuring the attractiveness of business district, based on interviews with experts and based on the online survey that I'm going to talk about. And we translated these criteria into data points, so KPIs or indicators that we collected for each of the 21 business districts. So it means that in total, it's close to 1,000 data points that we have collected across the 21 business districts and their metropolitan environment to measure, to try to get a sense of their attractiveness and to measure how it has changed, compared to last time. The second source of information that we have used is a survey. It's an online survey that we have conducted. I didn't mention, but you could see on the cover page that this survey is not EY only. It's a partnership with ULI Europe, of course. And for this global online survey, we have interviewed ULI members across the world. 349 of them, to be very accurate. And so it's people from the real estate community. So we have real estate professionals, real estate developers, investors. We have people from universities. We have a local government representative and so on, and also some users, of course, of business district. And we had this survey with them so as to measure the way they perceive the business district, to measure their expectations in terms of how they should transform to become more attractive and what are the challenges that they see and so on. And finally, what we did is to get more insights and to bring flesh to the bone, let's say, what we did is we conducted some in-depth interviews, so individual interviews, 22 of them, with experts from the ULI members, to deep dive into some of the findings and to get some more insights around the meaning of these findings from the survey and from our own results. And part of these interviews were conducted just at the beginning of the COVID crisis, so we were not too much ignoring the results from the survey and from our research. Let me add also that we have always made sure that the results which are measuring long-term trends and long-term transformation trends, were still aligned with what we see on the market as a result of the COVID crisis. And we're in a constant conversation, with our clients. And personally, I do a lot of location projects for our corporate clients. So we always verified that the trends that we have identified and analyzed were still valid, in a COVID world, which is the case because when you're looking long term, what you can see really is that to be, in a nutshell, that the trends that we were seeing before the crisis are still there, but the crisis has just accelerated these trends for most of them, okay? And we will see that across the presentation. So can we move to the next one? Thank you, Josephine. So about the crisis, just a few words around how it has impacted the business district that we have in our sample. By mid-April, 14 of them, so out of the 21, were in complete lockdown. So nobody was there. So in total, it's more than 3.5 million employees that were working from home during the crisis, and that were supposed to be working or would have worked in this business district, but were just working from home at that time. And which means that by mid-April, it was 73 million square meters that were actually empty when we prepared, all this analysis. So let's move to the next one. So just a little bit of context with EY. What we do a lot of research and we do a lot of thought leadership work on the attractiveness of countries, cities, regions, their, the location strategies from companies, investment plans, and so on. And I wanted to provide you with some key results from one of our big thought leadership work, which is around the attractiveness of Europe and other countries. And so we conducted a survey with foreign investors, so all international investors. And one of our questions, so that was, right in the middle of the crisis. And one of the questions was, okay, so how will the COVID crisis impact your investment plans in 2020? And so it's a matter of half full or half empty glass. But we have, let's see the half full glass, we have 62% in total of investors that are telling us that they have either no change or just a minor decrease in their 2020 investment plans. So it means that investment is, still vital for companies. It's not the end of investment. I can confirm that personally, from what I see on the market with my clients, and I have calls, every day. We can see that there is clearly a recovery of investment plans that were on pause before at the beginning of the crisis and now resuming. So it's still vital, but of course we should all expect the, let's say, general investment landscape to drop very significantly in 2020 at the end of the year. But again, it's still there and it's still vital. 2020 will be a difficult year for sure, but it's not the end of investment at all. So now that I have set the scene and the overall context, so we can move to the next one and go through some key results from the study. So this one is probably the headline, of this report, at least for the media, which is about the rankings of the business district and how it changes over years. So two things to take away here. The first thing is that if you look at the picture, if you look at the 2020 picture, there is no change in the top 5 ranking. Okay, so it's exactly the same as it was in 2017. And the second key takeaway is that when you look at the dynamic between 2017 and now, you can see that the competition is becoming much stronger, that some more emerging destinations are growing fast and are improving fast, and that the gap is really narrowing between contenders here. So about the top 5, you can see that the city in London is still #1. So, you know, everybody assumes quite rightly, you know, why London is still #1. It's because, you know, I mean, all of them, all of the 5 key leaders here would have first, you know, a good performance because of the presence of or the availability of skilled employees and skilled labor readily available in each of these business districts. So that's true, obviously, for London. London is also performing very well in terms of, you know, square meters and in terms of also the presence of global headquarters. Just to give you an example, London has attracted over the past 10 years 4 times more headquarters than the Paris region. And these are 2 regions of a similar size in terms of population. So, you know, it shows the difference between London and Paris when it comes to these global headquarters. In second and third place, we have Midtown in New York and Marunouchi in Tokyo. You know, good performance as well, good resilience, let's say, due to their attractiveness for big headquarters as well. You know, the top global Fortune Global 500 companies or HQs from these companies. So 10 in Midtown, 18 in Marunouchi, which is the highest score. Also a good level of availability of skilled labor in these 2 business districts. Paris La Défense is still #4 and scoring quite well because not scoring bad on any of the criteria. The availability of you know, skilled labor is also quite good. And you have some interesting also development plans in Paris, good transportation network, and you know, these kind of features that explains why Paris is still #4 in this ranking. When it comes to, so now if you don't look at the picture but you look at the dynamics of this business district, it's very interesting to see that between 2017 and 2020 the gap has narrowed between the competitors. And it's especially true with the top 5, where you can see that London and Midtown index are going down, while Marunouchi, La Défense, and Canary Wharf in London is going up in terms of the index that we have created, the attractiveness index that we have created. It's even more true when you look at some, especially Asian business districts, so in China and even in India, where you can see here on the right-hand side how the index has changed, how it has changed positively in the past, over the past 3 years. And there are some, you know, explanations around that, which is due to first, you know, the ranking or the performance of these countries, because this is at the country level in terms of socio-economic indicators, like the ease of doing business, where we can see that China and India have, you know, significantly improved their scoring in terms of ease of doing business. So this is reflected here as well in the improvement of their index, but also in terms of the availability of people with a higher education degree, which is much more important than what it was back in 2017. And also in terms of development, for instance, in Beijing, they have developed this you know, retail space, which is, you know, much bigger than the one that we have, for instance, in La Défense, which also, you know, this combination of different factors is explaining how, you know, and why these business districts are improving so fast their attractiveness index. So if you, I mean, I'm happy to answer, you know, any question at some point the best way I can, or to provide some more details around some specific business district if you like. Maybe for some of your question, it will require to, you know, to go back to the database if it's very specific. But let's say that we're happy to answer any question that you may have around these rankings and how they change over time. But, you know, again, the big headline here is, if you look at the picture, it's still, you know, the same kind of ranking. But if you look at the dynamics, we see that things are changing quite fast, and it would be very interesting to look at these rankings in 2 years, 3 years time from now. So can we move to the next one? Okay, so now I will take you through 5 key findings, key trends that we're seeing, and key takeaways in terms of transformation of the business districts themselves. So long-term transformation trends. The first one, the first key finding, so as I said, we have a significant part of our result is based on the global survey that we have conducted with ULI. And one of the key questions that we asked to the respondents was, what makes global business district attractive, right? And we have proposed the same items that we had on the previous edition. And here, very clearly, what we're seeing is that the attention given to the availability of talent is even stronger or more important than what it was already in 2017. In 2017, we had 70% of the respondents that were telling us this is, the most important, this is a very important criteria for us. In 2020, this percentage is up to 84% of our respondents. And so which is massive. It's a huge, surge in terms of percentage of very important response. And I can absolutely confirm that this is what we're seeing on the ground with our clients who were helping, with finding the best locations for their project, where, it was already true before the COVID crisis, where we used to have the availability of talent as the main driver of location decisions. But now with the COVID crisis, it's even stronger. It's even stronger, and with the new ways of working and, the remote work and stuff like that, it's becoming even stronger. The focus which is put on talent availability is really there. The second one, there is a noise, a background noise. I'm not sure where this is coming, but if we can make sure that all microphones are mute, that would be great. So the second one is around the proximity to clients and markets and customers and partners, which is also gaining ground, plus 11 points, so up to 57% here, which reflects, how let's say the market is, or how investors and developers and business district users are really putting the focus on immediate market opportunities and, reshuffling their priorities to, we need, for our business, we need talent first, and second, we need business opportunities. So this graph is really reflecting that here, which doesn't mean the rest is not important, because it still is. You can see it's still quite a high level of very important rate, but, there is clearly a shift in terms of priorities given to how you assess what makes a global business district attractive. So now, and this is, these criteria is what we use to structure our analysis and the way we have measured the attractiveness of business district and collected the KPIs that I was mentioning before, and where the ranking is coming from. So if we move to the next one. Okay, so about talent. Actually, the question of talent, so we just saw that is becoming extremely sensitive to business district players, let's say, and that has a very strong impact. And I'm sure this is your bread and butter or your day-to-day life. The impact of talent availability questions is really completely changing or deeply transforming the cost attractiveness equation, not only for the users, but for the business district tenants and users, but also for you, because it means that companies have understood that remote work actually works, and you can probably get some more or optimize your organization as a business, by using more remote work and future of work formats. But at the same time, we also saw during the crisis, and everybody's, is kind of experiencing that there is a limit to remote work, and that if you want to be attractive at some point as an employer, you need to be able to offer good working conditions to your employees. For your company culture, you need to be able to offer, good conditions to the employees and a good working environment. And the working environment is actually also becoming a benefit for employees when they, have to make an arbitrage between different employers. So it means that companies are trying to leverage remote work and technology to improve or to optimize their operating model and their cost model. But at the same time, real estate is part of the solution as well, because that will be an asset that will be a selling point to recruit the best talent and to offer to them the best working environment, and not only to recruit them but also to retain them. So it's a bit early now to say this is what will happen and so on, because all of that is quite new. What I can tell you is that definitely we see so many clients having this kind of thinking right now, and thinking not only about how they can better leverage remote working forms, operating models, but also what does that mean in terms of their location portfolio. And this is where we're trying to help them. And I can tell you that nobody is very clear on how far you can go using remote work. And so we'll see, but everybody is, asking this question. Just for your information also, we're currently working so on our own with ULI on a global survey around the implications of what we call future of work, which includes remote work, on real estate, cities, and locations. So this is something that we hope we can deliver sometime in September or October, but there is a global online survey that we're currently conducting with ULI around that, and we will be very happy, to share these results once we have them with you in September or October. Okay. So let's move to the next one here. So okay, so in terms of the third big finding that we have from the survey is around sustainability and more sustainable operating models. It was already there before the COVID crisis. Again, the COVID crisis is an accelerator of this trend. I can confirm that again with what I see with my own clients. So it's not just about branding. It's not just about, greenwashing. It's really a very strong expectation, which is expressed also by employees and hence by companies, because now if you want to be attractive on the market, you need to be able, with your employees, you need to be able to prove that you have a sustainable operating model. 73% of real estate professionals are expecting, the climate change related topics to be, much more important in the next 5 years. And again, this is something that we're seeing. And for them, they see it, the main items or levers that they see to improve the sustainability of business district is rather around a more sustainable and diversified transportation network. And in second place comes, the energy management and utilities management system that they use. And in third place, we have more green spaces, more forestry, and so on. But sustainability is very central. It was already quite important before, but now we clearly see that this is something that they really pay attention to. And this is also the case in real life with our clients, asking them, to measure sustainability performance of different locations when they look at, when they consider different locations for the investments. Next page, please. Okay, so around risk management and how that impacts the governance of business district. So risk management has become, the new normal, clearly. With the crisis, we knew risk management was important before the crisis, but with the COVID, we saw a crisis of a magnitude that nobody had seen before, and so risk management is or crisis management even is something that everybody has to anticipate. And the only way to do that, and this is something which is reflected, by the individual interviews that we have conducted, is for business district to be more or to collaborate more with some other local authorities or even national authorities at the city level, at the regional level, at the state level, because you need to have a holistic approach to risk if you want to be responsive, if you want to respond in an efficient way, transparent way to these big challenges for any business player. The second thing around risk management is about the new ways to collaborate between the public sector and the private sector, because when it comes to risk, you need to deal with mobility, you need to deal with security, you need to deal with a number of issues that involves all kinds of players, not only from the public sector side, but also from the private sector side. So it means that you really need to have this very collaborative approach to risk if you want to be successful and to respond in an efficient way to the risk that everybody is facing from now on with a much greater magnitude. So maybe we can move to the next one. Okay. So that's I think this is the last slide of this presentation, and it's a kind of a recap of all we were saying, or it's the natural conclusion of all we were saying. And by the way, that's a very strong message that we're already delivering back in 2017. What we really see is that the main transformation of business district is that they are less business specific and less of districts, meaning that they tend to create links to their metropolitan areas, which are much stronger, and they tend to become genuine destinations, not only for workers and companies, but to anybody, to everyone. And that's why they create these, that by heart already, but this is very much confirmed this year, the work, live and play environments, making places that would be opened outside of business hours, so as to make them more attractive, more aligned with what employees and residents would expect. In other words, to make it more aligned to and more adapted to people's needs. So this is a very, very heavy trend that we're seeing on the market, affecting all business districts. And I think it's really for good, because nobody would like to be working in a business district that is too business centric or focused. So and we see many efforts which are being implemented, like in Paris, in Chicago. I'm sure in Montreal it's the same, around how you can make your business district much more attractive, with more leisure, more services, and more fun also to everybody. So having said that, I think I gave you the key highlights. I hope it was interesting for you, and happy to answer any questions anytime if you have some.
All right, thank you very much, Vincent. I think some of the key takeaways there, obviously attracting and retaining talent is huge. but some of the lower items on the list in terms of quality urban environments and the real estate innovation are probably key to retaining that talent. And a lot of the things we look at in San Francisco are in our district, since it's so new, is transforming the user experience, like you said. But COVID has obviously thrown that all into disarray. I think right now, so we have about a little over 20 minutes left. I'll just move to everyone if anyone has any questions for Vincent.
It's Michael. I was wondering is there an opportunity for us to take the global survey that you mentioned?
Yes, when you say to take the global survey, is it to, you mean to answer?
Global, yeah, to answer the, to get a link to the survey so that we could all provide some input.
Absolutely, you will get that, as a member of ULI, which I'm sure you are, you will get this link. The survey is not online yet. We're in the, in the process of finalizing the questionnaire. We have many, internal reviews because everybody would like to, ask their question, and we need to keep it tight. But yes, of course. And if you don't get the link, just let me know, and I will forward you the correct link so you can answer.
That would be great.
Survey.
That would be great. That'd be great. I also just wanted to mention the data that you had up there in terms of kind of where Chicago ranked. That seems really accurate. We since 2017 we dropped in the rankings slightly, and I think most people would say that the market in Chicago has stayed fairly flat, which is represented in your numbers, and that's largely because we've had this a lot of development proposals proposed outside of downtown, just on the edge of downtown, which has put a downward pressure on rents in the loop. And to the extent that increasing rents is one of your key criteria, it looks exactly right to me that we're sort of treading water and everybody else is going a little faster. So thanks for that.
Question: is there any chance we continue this survey in the future years to include Moscow as one of the districts?
Absolutely, and next time, no problem. We will need your help, to get some of the data, because I know that for Moscow, it's not always easy to get the data. So we'll definitely need some support from you. But very happy to include Moscow in this sample for the next report. If the day we have a next report, so usually it's every 2-3 years that we do that. There's no point updating the report every year, but we'll let you know definitely next time if we
okay, we're open for any help with that or information. Just let us know, but it will be very useful for us to, and I think for the whole report, the overall, to have Moscow there. Like you don't have any Russian or any close to Russian countries there in the report.
No, what we had is we don't have that's true. We don't have any close to Russia country in the sample. This is due to also the fact that we're using these criteria, so which we use as a threshold, a minimum threshold. But I know, for instance, I've been invited last time to Warsaw, because in Warsaw they are taking many changes in the city, in their business district. But again, we're very flexible and happy to include any new business district. So that would be very interesting for next time.
Okay, I've got the very fresh report from CBRE for Moscow City, which is quite big and consists with lots of data. I can share with you all in the email later on today.
That would be great, Maria. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Vincent, I have a bit the same question for Montreal. I'd like to have more information about the 46 indicators you are taking account in the survey, in the report. And for us, it is really important because we are right now developing a new report, a quarter report named State of Downtown in Montreal. And in July and August, we are defining our own indicators. So if I know right now which indicators you are considering, I can make sure that I will include them in our own State of Downtown report. So you can use them easily for your next report.
Okay, that'd be great. Do you have the full report, the full PDF report or not?
I think so. Well, I download a report online. I don't know if it's the full or just a summary. I don't know. Maybe you can send it back to me.
Yeah. I will circulate that to this group just right after this call. But in this report, you will find that's where you have all the explanation around the methodology and the criteria that we have used, the indicators that we have used to measure the attractiveness of business districts.
Okay, perfect.
Vincent, it's Michael from Chicago. I really appreciate it. It must have been very difficult to do this report with COVID sort of all around your analysis. But I'm wondering if the recent civil unrest, protests associated with police brutality here in the States, I know that there's been the yellow jackets in Paris over time, but this notion of inequality, social unrest in cities, has that, in your opinion, begun to impact global business districts in any meaningful way? That's sort of part of the question. The other is, are you starting to think about Gen Z and what Gen Z future employees are thinking about in terms of where they'd like to work?
So about the civil unrest, and to be honest, it's so for the States, I'm not sure, but what I know for sure is that with the yellow vest that we had in France, at that time we were very not concerned but very curious about how that would impact the attractiveness of the country. And when we did our attractiveness report, which was so at the time, by the time we did the attractiveness report, so that was after the yellow jacket movement, and we couldn't see any specific impact of that on the attractiveness of France. And I must say that this is quite consistent with what I hear from my clients, because when you invest, you really think long term, and they see this kind of civil unrest or uncertainty and instability as a new normal, but clearly not a deterrent for long-term investment. So for sure, you don't want to be in a place where you have riots every day and so on, but again, they think long-term, and long-term they know that there are not so many places where you still have a bit of visibility, predictability, and so on, despite those movements. I'm not saying this is good in any way, for the attractiveness of these locations, but all I'm saying is that, surprisingly or not, this is not, really impacting the long-term perception of these locations for investment. And regarding your second question, what you call Gen Z is the next generation, right, of the children of the millennials. Am I correct? Okay, so what we're seeing clearly is, again, there is some kind of a focus, if not an obsession, to around access to talent, and the competition is so strong to access and retain the best talent that employers are really being very creative and imaginative to access and retain this talent. So definitely, I've not heard, of any of them, having a specific strategy with these kind of generation. But definitely, what we can say is that they are extremely, extremely careful and listening about the needs of the next generations, what they expect, so as to provide the best response to these expectations and to be in a position to be attractive on the market. So clearly it's there, and those who are pulling the strings for now are the employees, and employers are rather trying to answer and address these needs. That's for sure.
All right. I don't know if there are any other questions for Vincent. We have about 13 minutes left. I want to make sure we do save some time for the 2 questions that we have for this webinar. Are there any other questions for Vincent? All right, I'm hearing none. So we can move on to the questions that were posed in the emails. The first of which, what will be the impact of the health crisis for global business districts' attractiveness? In context in this discussion, I'll just note that here in San Francisco, as was mentioned in the last webinar, one of the biggest questions on impact is related to office use. And some of our largest towers in the East Cut district rely on major companies leasing space, and predominantly tech companies take up most of our office space in our district. And at the beginning of this, many of those tech companies said they would be working from home for the foreseeable future. So that's probably one of the things that we think about the most in the short term. We're seeing retail especially suffering through this with closures of many restaurant spaces. So I'll pose that question to the rest of you. What is the impact that you're seeing on the attractiveness of your district?
Well, I can explain what's happening in Moscow at the moment, and what the further steps we predict. At the moment, not only because of the Corona crisis, but because of the time companies had to transform the operational part of businesses, we see that about 30% of businesses are shifting their contracts in Moscow City district. About 10% of them, so I would say 1/3, is leaving the offices only because they now know that the effectiveness of working from home is quite high, and they don't need just no more, there is no more factor to continue to spend money for the offices. And we predict that the next 2 years will have the decrease of this part of the business. As far they go setting their operations, the more we have, the more decrease we will feel the next few years because of that part. And this is quite, for us, this is quite obvious that this we should take into the business model of the next few years, and find some new sources to attract businesses to rent the offices or to buy the office in Moscow City Business District. So at the moment it's 1/3, and overall it's 30% off. That's what can I say now.
All right, let's for us in Paris. One of the main things we have seen in the last weeks is that we need, well, not only the public authority, but also the private actors like the investors and the developers, for example. We all need to rethink the model of the tower, of the building. Do we need to have that kind of building? Is that a new working approach that we need to think about? So this is an important thing that everybody is looking at the moment. And we also think about importance of mixed-use buildings. We don't have that here in France because of the different rules we have here. So that could be really interesting to rethink about this model and to develop more and more mixed-use buildings, yeah, with a residential, more hotels, for example, retail as well, and maybe a little bit less office space. This is one of the most important thing we think about at the moment with the private sector as well.
In Chicago, and Kalindi, please feel free to share your thoughts. In the neighborhoods, they're doing a lot of shared streets. They're closing streets. All the restaurants come out and they basically create the restaurants on these neighborhood district streets. That may be happening in some of your markets. That's not happening in the Loop. The Loop is as you saw, is a rather large grid. And it's big, and so we don't really have, like a street that's all about restaurants. But I do think that eventually we're going to have to figure out a way to do that. And right now, it doesn't seem particularly feasible because there's not enough people, and it doesn't feel quite the right scale in order to do that. But I think this notion of public space becoming a little bit more usable by the private sector is something we're going to be dealing with going forward. The other thing that you may have noticed when you were in Chicago is we do have a lot of green space downtown, and with the reopening, there are a lot more people coming downtown that are enjoying the green space where there's lots of opportunities for social distancing. So I think going forward, green space is going to become extremely important for people to sort of feel comfortable coming downtown, and then maybe they would go to a restaurant, maybe they would go to a coffee shop, maybe they would do some shopping, but those green spaces have become very important to us.
Yeah, I think I'll add one thing too, is that what we're sort of anticipating is a possible, heightened pressure for downtowns to be a really complete neighborhood, right? I think with the sort of loss of confidence in public transportation, what we're seeing is that, the people that live downtown really should feel like they can get their groceries downtown, that they can meet all of their needs downtown. And in a lot of ways, the Loop has sort of increased its neighborhood feel over the past couple of years, but now, the asks for, grocery stores and schools and things like that might be on the table too, especially as people want to live either closer to work or closer to amenities, to avoid transportation. I think Chicago has struggled particularly hard with, with reorienting our transportation systems. I think it's been a little, like everything has been a little too late and too little as far as regulating who can get on and off, and making sure that people are distancing and wearing masks. So people are sort of avoiding it quite literally like the plague. And I think that's been a big challenge when we're talking to people returning to work. The biggest question everyone seems to have over and over is, how do I get there?
All right. And Emile, I know you are in transit or walking.
Yeah, sorry for the noise.
That's
okay.
all right. So, any thoughts on the impact to your district?
Well, the impact on the business side is huge. We have between 0 and 10% of workers back to work now. So that's a huge impact for the retails, for the restaurants, etc. in downtown area. But I think we have an opportunity in downtown Montreal is that we have already some residential buildings, and we will have more and more in the next months or year. So downtown Montreal will be a living place more and more. And for example, if we have another lockdown, I think these people will be able to keep the downtown alive, and it can be good for all the merchants, the restaurants, etc. But there is another thing that we didn't really mention, and maybe Montreal is more affected by this, is about tourism. In Montreal, it's a place for music festival and large international events, especially during the summer. And for us, this is this has a big effect on the economic activity, even for businesses, because it's not only like leisure tourism, but it's also business tourism, like congress, etc. So for us, we are also trying to find a strategy to have an alternative solutions for local tourism from the US or from Canada, and yeah, so that's another point I would like to add is about the impact of the lack of tourists in the business area.
Yeah, all great points. So we are down to about 3 minutes. I don't know if we have the ability to go beyond the 1 hour time slot. I want to be cognizant of everyone's time. But we do have one last question. What new initiatives could be set up within the GBD Innovation Club to increase the attractiveness of GBDs? I will just say that with our organization, because we are relatively small and relatively new, this is one of the reasons we see such a great benefit in the GBD and being a member of the GBD, because we can rely on all of you for your experience and ideas. So I would like to throw it over to all of you to see what ideas you guys have been thinking about.
Well, I don't have an idea specifically, but just as one that's been involved, Josephine is about to send out a series of letters to about 80 different global business districts. And Josephine will hopefully, CC us on those. And so that if you could maybe put in a good word for why somebody should really consider, especially the folks that are on, maybe that you saw on that list today. We do need to, build up our membership. And so we do have a goal of, getting about 25 members this year. And I know it's a difficult year, but I do think it's very valuable. I feel great all day knowing that I was able to discuss things with people like you that are so smart from around the world. And I think others would find similar value. To be able to have an international network of colleagues is just wonderful, and real value there. So when you see those, if you could, kind of encourage others to join, that would be great.
And one more thing that we could add, well, I think that's one of the objective of the GBD Innovation Club is also to share many things about different issues and topics. So that could be great if we could launch at the end of this year, for example, the collaborative platform we wanted to launch 1 year ago. That could be very useful for our organizations in the sense that could be interesting to talk with the other counterparts about specific topics, for example, about, I don't know, urban planning, about retail, about the development of public spaces or green spaces, things like that with other counterparts, and not only us. That could be great if we could share with some of the people of our organizations. So I think that if we are together at the end of this year in Paris La Défense, that could be great to talk about it at that moment and to launch it together, if you agree with that.
I mean, I think that's a great idea. Obviously, America is having some struggles, as you can probably see. And I think at this point we're not even allowed to come to Europe, but we certainly would love to be there to further this discussion. I personally feel like we could talk all day, honestly, about all kinds of topics. So I find this to be invaluable. And so we are just a minute over time. I would still want to see if anyone else has anything to add. And otherwise, we can wrap up, but I just want to open it up. Any other thoughts?
Just a few words about Marie-Célie. Have you could see she has gone from La Défense. She left on last Friday. At the moment, we have our deputy managing director, who is the leader of Paris La Défense. So he has the role of the president of the GBD Innovation Club. I think that after the summer, because as you may know, in the summer nothing happens in France. So after the summer, we will have a new board and a new CEO. So we will know it in September, hopefully. So let's say that Marie-Célie had the chance to be at the head of a great business district, and now she has also other projects, personal and professional projects as well. So I think she will keep in touch with us, and she will have a great look on the GBD Innovation Club.
That's fantastic. Yeah, she'll be missed.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess with that, I will just thank all of you for joining us today. You know, again, this is a huge benefit I find for our organization, especially. And I hope you guys continue to stay safe and healthy, and certainly reach out to us anytime if you need anything.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you, Vincent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great time. Bye-bye. Au revoir.
Bye.